Dead by Daylight. You love it, you hate it. Here we are. In this video, we'll be visiting the MacMillan Estate realm 25 times. The first map ever added to the game was Shelter Woods, which is a part of the MacMillan Estate realm, with other maps connected to this realm coming out later. Anyways, my goal of this video is to better learn the gen spawns, totem spots, and proper looping for this realm. I have about 300 hours of playtime in DBD, and I think it's about time that I start learning the maps like the back of my hand. If you like this concept, drop a comment on what realm, killer, or survivor I should do next, and if this does well, I will definitely do more of this. And now, join me on my journey through the industrial side of Dead by Daylight's map pool. I believe if I truly want to master the estate, I must put on my big boy pants and go in completely raw. So what I mean is, no perks. What perks you bring in Dead by Daylight can determine if you win or lose, with some giving increases to gen speed, while others serving some more niche purposes. I want to try a variety of builds in this video, but first I want to start at a baseline of 0 perks to kind of see where my skill level is without having to rely on perks. What this basically boils down to is how well I can mind game in a chase with a killer, and though I might not be perfect, I'm pretty proud of how I did in this game. Of course, after a while I got downed because I ran out of pellets to use near me. But after that, it was smooth sailing until the end game. Keyword until, because I decided to try and stealth despite the killer obviously seeing me at the gate. I don't know what I was thinking. With everyone on second hook, the pressure was starting to mount, and it did not help that Meg just kissed the wall after getting hit. After getting unhooked, I just ran to the opposite gate and got out, and despite 2 of my teammates dying, I'd say that's a pretty alright game that we had. The next game went everything but alright. First, I decided to go with these 2 perks because one tells you where totems are, while the other gives you a 10% speed bonus for generators after cleansing a totem. But the catch is that if you get hit, you lose the bonus. And guess what happened right after I did the totem? Yeah, and then after that, I tried mind gaming so hard that I just went into the killer's hands. And after that, I made some more dumb plays, which ended up in me getting tunneled out, and let's just go to the next game. It's a disaster. Got to record most of game number 3, but yeah, as you can see, it's not going very well. I did end up taking the killer on a long chase around the map, but in the end, it did not delay the inevitable. As you all know, Survivor isn't the only thing you can play as in this game. In order to see all the angles of this realm, I believe I need to play as both Survivor and Killer, so every 3 games I'll be swapping in and out from each role. I usually main my boy Pyramid Head, so I decided to copy the build of that person who just killed me last game. Shortly after the game started, I found the Cheryl, and I hit a nice shot through the walls, which ended up her getting downed, and so I picked her up, but Michaela decided to block the doorway, so I swung to shoot her away, and after I dropped down, I was like lost, so I had no idea where the hook was, and by the time I realized, I was a nanosecond off of hooking the Cheryl. After 5 seconds, I caught her, but man, it just hurt my soul. After getting 2 more hooks, I got 3 stacks of Devour Hope, which if you don't know, at 3 stacks you're able to insta-down anyone with a basic attack. The only condition is that you have to be at least 40 meters away when someone gets unhooked to get the stack, and it's also a hex totem so people can get rid of it. After that, I found the Cheryl again and I picked her up, and oh, okay, you missed Michaela, not even close. Dalita was left to die on the hook as they decided to prioritize destroying the hex totem instead of, saving her. And after that, I picked up this chick from the gen, and shortly after that, I finished the game. Overall, I really only saw value from Devour Hope and Undying, but I guess that was all I needed for the 4K. Nothing too interesting for game number 5. I played as Artist with this Scourge Hook build and No Way Out, and I got some pretty nice shots, like this, and like this too. In the end, there was 2 survivors left, and one of them decided to snitch on where the other one was. But the other one gave me a toolbox, so I decided to kill the snitch, and I let my business partner through the hatch. Not much to learn from that game. Oh god, I don't have Trickster Cosmetics. Everyone's gonna think I'm poor now. No! Don't ask why I chose this build, by the way. I just chose random perks and went with it. This Trickster game is probably the hardest I've struggled so far, mostly because I cannot aim for my life. I downed this Jeff and left him to chase Dwight, only to come back and realize they had Boon Exponential, which allows them to pick themselves up. And after main eventing him because he was stuck behind this pallet, Dwight tried to saddle right in front of me, which did not end well for him because he was already injured. And even with that misplay, I was down to 1 gen, with there being a ton of space between the generators. It was only a matter of time until the generators popped, but I was able to kill Jeff right before the gens popped. I was able to find Dwight. I wanted to hook him after they opened the gates because then I could use Blood Warden. Bingo! After Dwight was sacrificed, Blood Warden blocks all the exit gates so no one can leave for 60 seconds. And this Nia was not very happy about that. Last person escaped, but I'm pretty happy with 3k, and actual Blood Warden value is pretty rare, so nice. Back to Survivor with game number 7, and I decided that since we're on an OG map, why not use perks that were there on day 1? And the killer decided to go the non-OG route and use Nurse. She ended up getting distracted though and hooking someone else, which allowed Bill to pick me up, but I made a major mistake from the lack of map knowledge that I have, and I went towards the basement. So the nurse ended up teleporting to me, hitting me, putting me on the hook, and yeah, I was in the basement. But the nurse ended up playing really nice, however, if you notice. She made everyone get the second hook without sacrificing. She only killed 1 person, and she said in the game chat that she only killed that person because they needed to in order to rank up. I'm sure if that nurse really tried, that we all would have died. Like, really quickly. Using Jill game 8 because I'm starting to run out of MacMillan Estate offerings on my main character, which, if you don't know, the offerings give a 99.99% chance of you going to the MacMillan maps. I also decided to go with this cool stealth build, but I'm not going to explain it because it did not work at all. Go use the wiki like the rest of us, you freeloader. Using the Smiley build in game 9 and went against a hillbilly who knew what they were doing, and I did not know what I was doing. Spoiler, I died. Playing as this cowboy with a gun in game 10. Got some outlaws and put them where they belong. First one down couldn't handle the punishment, so they took the easy way out of my realm. The gang couldn't keep it together after losing their leader, so killing them would be as easy as shooting survivors in a barrel. I didn't let any outlaws escape my judgment, and proudly got myself a 4K. Playing as Dredge game 11, and I noticed 2 survivors AFK at the start of the match thanks to Lethal Pursuer, which allows you to see survivors at the start of the match. Wow, couldn't figure out that one. They were very happy to see me, and when I was chasing Bill, I knew who was going to go up and vault the window, so I placed down my remnant, which allows you to teleport back to it at any time. But when I swung, I hit the wrong person, and so, whoops. Oh, a pallet just for me. I've always wanted... I thought we had something, Kate. I dredged so hard over the survivors, they could handle being dredged no longer. I decided to be delightful and let my dear Danny darling go. God, that took way too many takes. In my notes, I wrote that something came up mid-game, so let's see what's up with that. Oh yeah, now I remember. I had to go AFK because UPS showed up to pick up a package that I had to send. And when I came back, Serena was just staring at me. And remember, kids, staring is rude, and it might just end with a knife being in your back. Gens were already powered, and exit gates were already 99, so I was just going for 1 kill, and all I had to do was camp this hook. But I did a major mistake in taking the bait and hitting someone, which allowed them to unhook. Even then, with 3 people injured, I still had a chance to get someone down with my power, but this godly body block from Quentin prevented me from doing so. We had a staring contest, and I even lost that too. I blame UPS for that one, even though I was probably gonna lose because these survivors were pretty good. Back to Survivor game 13, and nothing interesting this game. I just sat on gens, saw Meg die in front of me, and escaped. That was it. Game 14. Alright, sit down, get some popcorn, because this is going to be a long one. First, let me explain my perks. This one highlights all the objectives through the wall when a gen is completed. This one shows any gens that have just been kicked by the killer and are regressing. This one shows any dropped pallets, which is good for trying to figure out where your teammates are being chased. My last perk is Boon Shadow Step, which hides your scratch marks and aura from the killer in a radius of a totem that you've blessed. I want to go over this first chase, because I think there's a lot to learn from it. On the Groaning Storehouse, the main building has many chase resources that you should keep in your mind, It has both a strong pellet and a really nice window that you can use. Usually after taking the window, you can just run all the way around and make it back to the pallet. But if the killer has some type of mobility power, then you might have to juke them out first. But if all goes to plan, you can then drop the pallet and make it to the window again. After that, you can usually make it to another resource nearby, but I was in the open, which allowed the killer to easily hit me with their power. My chase was good enough to allow 2 generators to pop, which is what a good first chase should do. I haven't gotten this in depth yet because I think game 13 is really the first time that I don't just hold W and hope there's something there ahead of me. After being unhooked, I used my map to find a totem and a generator near each other. I decided to rely on stealth, so if the killer got close to the generator I was doing, I could just hide. After my teammate got hooked, I knew the killer was going straight for me since I was the closest generator to them, so I ran to a hiding spot. And you might have noticed when I'm playing killer, in the killer's point of view, the survivor sprints and they leave behind red scratch marks. But the boon that I just did makes it so they don't appear, so I was able to run to a hiding spot without her knowing. She couldn't find me, so she had to leave because she was wasting her time. Because of this, I was able to instantly get back to the generator, and after that, we were down to just one more. Unfortunately, our teammate on second stage was downed, and the killer used her special offering, called the Mori, to play a special kill animation. After a bit, we tried to finish the generator that was so close to being done, but the killer knew we wanted to get greedy and punished us for it. Zarina was doing a generator across the map and finished it, so it was just a matter of opening the gates. Now this is where it goes downhill. After seeing the killer, for some reason I decided to push the gate and just hope I can get through the killer. And despite Zarina taking a hit for me, I knew that would not be enough for me to get past the killer. So, after failing a mind game, I went down. Now let me explain what I should have done. After seeing the killer from a distance, I should have used my map to find the other exit gate and escape through that gate instead. Though I ended up dying, I think this game was a huge learning point for me. Running the same perk build on game 15, but this time we're on Shelter Woods. Remember last game where I gave that in-depth explanation on how you can go around the whole building without having to drop the pallet the first time? Well, here's the opposite. Well this time I learned that you can't do that with the main building on this map. Because of the stagger you do when falling from the windows, you barely cannot reach the pallet in time if the killer paths correctly, and you will get hit or downed. After I got unhooked, I was getting healed by 2 people, and you can just watch what happens. Somehow recovered from that, and honestly the rest of the game was pretty smooth. Skipping to the end of the game, I was trying to wait for the perfect moment to sneak by at the exit gate. But right as I got through, I noticed that Meg was getting killed right at the exit gate. Rest in peace, but hey, at least I got my achievement for escaping Shelter Woods. And now back to your scheduled killing with Wesker on Shelter Woods. Got a very early down at the beginning of the game, and then later chased Kate with no mither, which means she's always one shot. And then I got this really nice mind game in where I hid my red light. When carrying Kate though, the person who just got unhooked decided to try and distract me, but I hit him down onto the floor. But little did I know, that's actually what she wanted. She hit me with Decisive Strike, and I was stunned for a few seconds. She went straight for the unhook on Kate, but I pulled out the killer ability and it made her use her Dead Hard, which if you don't know gives you immunity frames for 0.5 seconds. Honestly, after that, everyone else died really quickly, so I just let Leon go on his way for having to experience such a horrible match. Good on my end, bad on theirs. Game 17 was pretty boring except for the end game, so let's skip straight to that. Trying to secure 1 kill, and all the teammates trying to get the unhook, as per usual. The problem for them is that I keep getting them injured before they can even get close to unhooking. Eventually, I miss, so Dwight is able to get through and unhook without trading himself. It's a mad dash for the gate, but I just barely managed to catch Michaela. Force Jeff out of the game, so then I can pick up Michaela safely. And then this Dialita tries to distract me while I'm carrying, but goes down for it, because she paths incorrectly. They were both on death hooks, so I secured myself 2 kills in the end. It's always good to remember that just because the last generator has been done, and you don't have any endgame perks, doesn't mean the game is over. As corny as it sounds, yeah, don't give up. Got Suffocation Pit game 18, which at this point in my journey I figure out is more survivor-sided than killer-sided, because the map is split up into 2 parts, which makes it really hard to get a 3 gen. running the perk Insidious, which if you don't know, makes your terror radius and red stain completely disappear if you stand still for 2 seconds, which is pretty dumb, but I did get some funny plays with it. The survivors ended up finishing the gens as soon as I got my first sacrifice. So I used my power to traverse the map and see if I could find someone, and I found Bill right in the dead zone. But I made the mistake of wanting to get greedy and go for a third person. The distraction of chasing the player out of the exit gate allowed them to pick up Bill since I was across the map. Luckily though, Bill ended up getting stuck at Shack, so I decided to pretend that I left with my perk. Bill thought that I left, and as soon as Bill realized what just happened, he accepted his fate. Once again, ending a game with a 2K. These are my last few Survivor games, so I gotta make it count. Nothing too interesting in the beginning, but at some point I was just minding my own business doing a gen before noticing that a woman was staring at me. Since I'm a DBD player, women scare me, so I went to go seek shelter. But luckily I was right next to his shack, and I've learned that this is one of the most powerful loops in the game. My teammate just finished a gen which allowed me to see the killer through the walls thanks to this perk. After that ran out though, it was just a matter of good looping. I noticed this killer's playstyle in that they just like to hold W until they get bloodlust, so I took the window anytime that I could. Eventually, the killer realized she was wasting time and left. After that, it was just smooth sailing and we were out. Just recently unlocked Kate and wanted to get the Adept achievement, which gives you the challenge of escaping with only her 3 perks. I brought a flashlight hoping I'd get some fun plays with it, and of course, with my luck, the one time that I bring it, the killer had Lightborn, which means the flashlight doesn't work on him. The Oni tried to use their power to insta-down me, but from my prior game where I played Oni, I realized that your turn rate is really slow, so I used a locker to juke them out. Shortly after this, they decided to just try and tunnel Nick Cage out of the game. They were successful after I accidentally sandbagged my teammate while trying to take a protection hit for him. Me and my teammates tried to force him to wiggle off, but we did not buy enough time for him, and just barely he got hooked. After that though, we got the gens done and the gates open. The problem was that I was being pursued at the edge of the map. I got down and on the hook I went, but eventually, Meg traded with me. I felt bad because I couldn't really do anything and the timer at the top was forcing us out. If you don't know, the timer at the top of the screen, if that runs out, every survivor left in the trial dies. Shout out to Meg, who was an absolute real one that game. Alright, last Survivor game. I'm feeling pretty good. I think we got this, and I know this map like the back of my hand now. The Spirit knew it way better. Last 3 games as killer, so I'm going to use my main and the usual build that I use. Skipping all the boring stuff, when it was down to the last gen, 2 of the 3 generators were pretty far apart, so it was a matter of how fast I could finish chases. Luckily, both the chases that I took were the people who were on Death Hook, and both of them did the mistake of running into my trails, so when I downed them, I did not need to hook them. I could kill him on the spot. My luck ran out though, because by the time I was finished with the second survivor, the gates had been opened, and both the other survivors escaped. Yeah, I knew this was going to be a tough game when I saw the survivor tried sending me to the map that I wanted to go to. I just want you to watch this clip of me getting looped by Bill and notice how much more map knowledge these survivors had over me. He goes around the building 3 whole times and I just cannot catch up. This is something to keep in mind if you're playing Survivor, that this works. And it is only slightly frustrating on the killer side. I'm just going to skip to the end game where I downed this lorry and then now I'm hooking them. But the survivors just notice the plays. They blind me. I tried to hit whoever is unhooking, but I just can't do anything. And while you're watching me get stomped, I want you to see the total hours that just one of these people had. Yeah, this was a god squad and I stood no chance against them. Maybe one day. With how badly I got stomped on last game, I was determined to get a 4K this one. First, my Undying perk revealed that this person was just going to go to the basement, so I went after them and hit them. But after a little bit of a chase, I predicted their window vault and downed them. I noticed a Fang sticking around so they could prevent the hook, so I made sure to shoo them away. I heard them nearby as I hooked, and I started the chase. Confident, she brought me to the shack, where I whiffed my first shot, but after seeing her aura, I knew she was going for the shack door, and I aimed through the wall, and just barely, I hit her. Shortly after that, I was able to snowball the game. Mr. TTV messed up the dead hard, and so the lobby fell one by one. Now that's a good game I'm proud to end on. Just kidding, we got one more. Playing Survivor, no perks, ending just how we started. And if I'm being honest, this game, I was more of a background player, but it allowed my team to win. White was first to go down, and while the killer was busy throwing hands with the generator, I got ready to get a pallet save. Nice. Unfortunately, the rest of the game was quite boring, so I'm just gonna go over my conclusions with you while you watch. After all those matches, I can say with confidence that I've learned a little bit more than I knew before about the MacMillan Estate map. Show me a main building and I'll tell you what map it is. Yeah, that's Dead Dog Saloon. I knew it. Anyways, I hope you've also learned something from this video. And if you enjoyed this video, give it a like. And if you want more content like this, consider subscribing. It's the best way to make it happen. I don't know if this video will do well because it's not like anything I've ever made before, but we'll see. So yeah, like, sub, and comment how cool you are, and till next time, I'll see you when I see you.